Hey, it's your girl Nancy Red, and this is season 3 of Mompreneurs, where every week we celebrate beautiful Black entrepreneurs who are also amazing moms. Now, I'm chatting with my guests about how they're killing it simultaneously as business moguls and motherhood while we listen to their inspiring journeys and incredible advice. Now, anyone who knows me knows I love a vagina. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited about my next guest who has made it her mission in our community to bring vaginal health to the forefront. Now, Nakea Murray is a mompreneur magician when it comes to this, okay? She has been in business in many different ways for over 30 years, but for the last decade, she has been focused on vaginal health as what she refers to herself as a principal magician. I love it. I love this title. She is the founder of V-TOX, which is a Philly-based vaginal and womb health spa. And she also is the co-founder of Brown Girl Wellness Studio and so much more. She's a great mother, grandmother, and just all around fabulous person. We are so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. That was
this came out of the blue, right? You had no idea. I found you on you're an excellent person. I found you on the internet. And
okay.
I was so excited because I'm sure over the years you've been doing this for over a decade. Either people get it immediately or they're like,
There were a lot of no's before there were any yeses in this business, believe me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, before we get too far into the business side of things, let's get a little personal. Who in your life puts the mom in mompreneur? Who's in your household?
Well, that would be me, as well as my fiance.
And but you've also got some grown kids and your grandma.
That is correct. I am a grandmother. I can't believe it. And I love being called my mom. It's one of my favorite things besides mom to be called. I didn't want to do the glam mom and the Gigi and all of that. I wanted to be called my mom. I had awesome grandparents. And so that really is a title that I hold dear to my heart.
I'm obsessed with you because you are an incredible mompreneur that is on top of some of my favorite aspects of being a woman, which is vaginal health. And thank you for all that you do first and foremost.
Oh, I am so happy to be here. And thank you for even shedding light on what I do at V-TOX Intimate Health and Wellness. This is something that if I didn't love, I probably would have been quit this thing, quite honestly, because it is a lot of work. And even finding people that want to work in the office and want to do this type of work, womb healing is a huge deal. It is something that does not happen overnight. And so helping women heal their wombs and also just take care of their vaginas and their body overall is something that people may not be ready for. Sometimes they've been doing the same things for so long, they have to unlearn things that they've learned. So that's not comfortable for everyone.
Well, and especially when it's coming from an outsider perspective, like I love the fact that you have coochie cream because we all grew up with euphemisms. We don't even talk about a womb. We don't even know what's called a vulva, right? We're talking about the parts of it, and it's been my life mission to help people feel more comfortable. And you're really like the goop of Black people, like
thank you.
Because you're out here Gwyneth Paltrowing people's vulvas in a way that they feel comfortable with your V-TOX spa, with your brand, your line. But it all started in your own household, right? Before this was a business, you were just a mom of two in publishing with some infections down there.
Yep. Sure was. And my daughter was experiencing heavy, painful periods. And so learning more about herbal medicine through a great friend of mine who actually introduced me to steaming, it was a game changer, not only for myself, but also my daughter. I dealt with chronic infection, pretty much eradicated it. My daughter was dealing with heavy, painful menstrual periods. After her second vaginal steam, she was from a 7 to 9 day painful cycle to a pain-free 4 to 5 day cycle. And that was without birth control, which was the only thing that was being pushed when she was 14 to 16 years old.
Well, and many people hear, okay, you've got a vaginal steaming spa, you've got this place called V-TOX in Philadelphia, and they're just like, I mean, how could this actually fix your problems? But you tried going the doctor route. For your infections, you went to the doctor all the time, you did all the things you're supposed to do, and no answers were given.
It was always pushing the antibiotics, 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 to the point that when you start taking antibiotics over and over, it begins to destroy your own gut health. You begin to have even more infections. You begin to have digestive issues, even mental health issues from over being overprescribed antibiotics. And that is something that now is being talked about, whereas though back then, not so much.
And so here you are, you have this situation with these doctors that aren't listening to you, that aren't listening to your daughter, but you decided to be proactive and you switched doctors and you got some more
Mm-hmm.
information. You got somebody who actually listened to you, which is something a lot of our audience is probably listening to. We all relate to the doctor who thinks we're crazy.
Mm-hmm. Luckily, the second doctor that I had, she was like, listen, I can see it on paper that this is, that this is problematic. Let's talk about what is your vagina and your vulva coming in contact with on a daily basis, and let's go from there. That was the game changer. Because as I began to make a trigger list of everything, every product, everything, that's how we were able to identify what the things were that were causing me irritation and chronic infection. And that came down to
Wow.
laundry detergent. That came down to the brand of tampons, the brand of pads I was using. It was so much that was uncovered just by doing that list.
And so then this sends you on a quest to find out more about
Mm-hmm.
vaginal health, and you leaned into vaginal steaming. Talk to us about the first
Yes.
time that you got steamed. What was that
The,
experience like? You were still in the process of being infected, of feeling
mm-hmm.
stressed out,
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
insecure. You were
Mm-hmm.
not Miss V Queen. You were not the
Mm-hmm.
host of Coochie Conversations at this point. You were
Mm-hmm.
just a regular
Mm-hmm.
lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, I met a wonderful, wonderful friend in a business that I was doing because I was a top selling adult product expert for many years as well. And so I met her through that business. We were at a convention in Atlanta having just a girl time. We all stayed in a hotel suite together. And she said, okay, today we're going to do steaming. And we're like, what is that? She's like, I'm going to set everything up. You're just going to sit down. You're just going to enjoy this. It's going to be herbal medicine. It's going to just warm your system up. It's going to just help you in so many different ways from head to toe. And I'm like, okay, sign me up. So I was the first person to do it. I came out of there prancing, spinning with a towel wrapped around my waist. I had not felt that clean in forever. And when you deal with chronic infection, it is very hard to feel clean, no matter how much you clean. But it comes down to what are you cleaning with? Women should be using things that are naturally antibacterial, naturally antifungal, not artificially scented, things that are going to be healthy for the body. When you don't get that information early on, you just don't know. So the doctors are pushing, commercial soaps, commercial soaps. One in particular, 4-letter word starts with a D. That is something that is pushed to Black women so much. But the ingredients, unfortunately, don't always operate with our endocrine systems well. So then we end up with chronic infection. We end up with neurological situations. We end up with the C word. There's so many things that go wrong with us.
And here you are going through this, and at the exact same time, when you're starting to
Mm-hmm.
discover your own health, your daughter becomes a teenager and gets her period, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
I felt
it's not a
helpless.
fun period.
Nancy, I felt helpless from 14 to 16. My daughter literally would sleep, waking up every hour on the hour because she was afraid she was going to bleed through the bed. She would sleep sitting up. She would set a period alarm for herself so that she could check herself every hour. That is no way to live. A period should not be painful. It should not be flooding, bleeding through your clothes. It should not be embarrassment. It should not be any of the things that she was experiencing. And the only thing that her pediatrician said, birth control. And that was just a symptom thing. It wasn't a solution, And so vaginal steaming saved the day. And people don't believe me. I tell my daughter, you got to start doing these interviews with me because tons of people did not believe me. They were just like, oh, how is that possible? Oh, that's snake oil. Oh, that's what are herbs going to do? Because they were so stuck on traditional medicine and pharmaceutical drugs.
And here you are over 10 years later, and you have V-TOX, which is Philly's first vaginal
Hmm.
steaming business. You have been in business successfully for over a decade. You have products. You have Black Lives
Hmm.
Matter movement. You have all these other aspects of this that you've spun off. But when you start a business, a lot of people say, start something that people can get behind, like a coffee shop. People like
Mhm.
the coffee.
Mhm.
You're starting a
Mhm.
business that requires a large educational component. What inspired
Mm.
you to do this? Because this wasn't an easy dunk. It wasn't like you said, "Okay,
No.
you know what? I know I'm going to build this vaginal steaming business and
Mhm.
the people will follow." You knew this was going to be a long road ahead.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, keep in mind that through my different business ventures, I had a huge database of women consumers that all were like, "Oh, whatever you're doing, we're doing." Right? Vaginal steaming came about. They said, "Now we love you, girl. We trust you, girl, but you taking it too far now." And so it was a lot of no's. It was a lot of no's. I've only had a location, a physical location for 6 years. For 4 years, I traveled the country doing just any type of spa party, any type of pop up shop, any type of women's expo. I was there.
Punani steaming.
Hmm. 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 I've gotten stopped in the airport where I've had herbs packed in my suitcase and they're like taking it out. Like, what exactly is this? And I'm like, coochie healing herbs. I said, let me just make TSA laugh. And they would say, well, what do you do with this? I'm like, oh, I'm a celebrity magician. I traveled here for business. And they would just kind of pack it up and put it on back.
I love it. Okay, so for 4 years you traveled the country as a celebrity magician because you're
Hmm.
like the Johnny Appleseed of vaginal steaming.
Hmm. Hmm.
You're like
Hmm.
spreading the world, sharing your story, sharing your daughter's story. You said you're a
Yep.
celebrity
Yep.
magician. Does this mean that you have worked on some Hollywood stars with your magic?
Hmm. Absolutely, I have.
And what is the consensus? Because what is the consensus that you learned from these
Everyone
experiences?
loves
Did
my
you
vibe. And I talk to people from a standpoint of not talking over their head, but helping them learn more about why their body needs something like vaginal steaming. And also helping them just tune out all the people that are saying this does not work. Because if they really got to know what vaginal steaming was about, they would know that it's a delivery system. The same way that herbal tea is a delivery system. It is a way for medicinal properties of herbs to get into your bloodstream. And vaginal steaming just happens to be one of the fastest ways.
Okay, so before we started this business, you have other entrepreneurship endeavors and you also were in publishing for 20 years. At what
Yes, ma'am.
point did you say, okay, this is my priority. This is where I'm
Hmm.
focusing all my eggs.
Honestly, from the start. From the start, I was so determined because I said, this is going to have to, I have to give it all. I have to give it all. I can't flip flop. Because also I didn't want to do just steaming. I wanted for people to know, wait a minute, there's healthier products out here. I want to educate women on them. I want to make healthier products. I had help from another great friend. I mean, my friends really showed up and showed out as I was starting this. And so I knew that I wanted a vulva wash and a vulva soap. I wasn't a soap maker, but I had friends who were. So I said, here, these are the herbs that I want to use. This is what I researched. This is what I want. Can you help me formulate this? And they did. So our fresh hard, our
Incredible.
clean coochie foam have become staples in a lot of homes.
This is great. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of things. Let me just clarify everything for our audience.
Hmm.
I like to refer to this as the hierarchy of hustle. So we started with V-TOX. You're traveling around as the celebrity physician. You start
Hmm.
your actual Philadelphia-based spa 6 years ago.
Steam spa.
What else do we
Hmm.
have going on? So you have the same spa, you have the V-TOX. Talk to us about your hierarchy of hustles in order of what brings you the most profit. Where are we with your businesses?
V-TOX, of course, because it is a brick and mortar operation, it allows for me to not only have retail available in the office, but also to service people. So in the office, we do vaginal steaming, and then we also do customized herbal foot soaks as well. We do spa parties in here. They have become really, really popular. I also, because my clientele, the Clean Coochie crew is really family, right? And so I wanted to make sure I was doing things for them to even boost camaraderie amongst the clients. So 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, we started traveling together. We did a traveling spa club because I was feeling just a little burnt out in business. And I said, oh, I need some camaraderie. Do you guys want to go to the spa? I love self-care. I need to get back into taking care of Nakea. And they were like, let's do it. And so we did it for a summer of 2023, we did it. And that was the start of something that I didn't even realize was going to be necessary and needed and keep going. And so the women would not let it go. We did something called Healing Girl Summer, summer of 2023. At the end of that, they said, no, we got to keep going. So Black Girl Spa Club became the next thing that we're currently working on.
I love it. And then
Yeah,
again,
we
when did the
travel up
product
and down
line?
the country, all across the country. We travel to various spas.
I love that. That's so sweet. So
Hmm.
how do you organize all of this? Because again, you are, well, I guess we have to look at it like this, right? You started this journey when you had a teenage daughter. You're a mom of two, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you started this journey when you had a teenage daughter. Your daughter is now
Hmm.
27. So it's been a process. You
Hmm.
didn't just start out, you built this business bit by bit. How did you maneuver being a mother while having this lofty dream? Because you couldn't be where you are today with your Black Women's Matter initiative, with your V-TOX Filet Spa, with your Brown Girl Wellness Studio, with your Black Girl Spa group, traveling all around. You couldn't have done this when your daughter was 14 years old.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And my children actually have a love-hate relationship with entrepreneurship. While working in publishing, I had to travel so much. I worked with
Oh, you've
so
always been a
many
traveling
authors.
salesperson. So traveling is part of
Hmm.
your world. Okay, great.
Hmm. Hmm. I had to travel with many best-selling authors, independent authors, celebrity authors as a part of their book tours and promotion tours and marketing campaigns. So it was a lot. They have a love-hate relationship with it, quite honestly. I can't say that it is just all, glitter and rainbows, because it absolutely was not.
But what's interesting is you did take from your experience working in publishing for these authors, and you at least figured out how to do the traveling, but for your own business.
Hmm.
What was that change like? How does that make you feel to go from traveling for other people's businesses to traveling for your own?
I feel amazing. It makes me so happy because I said, oh, if I would have only put myself first, back then, this would be so, even larger now. I put a lot of people's careers and lives in front of my own. And would I do that again? I don't know that I would do it the same exact way. I would put myself first.
And talk about that, because a lot of our listeners are mothers who are nervous to, because like you have to
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, well, why did you put others first, right? Stability, fear, nerves. What is your advice to mothers listening to this who also have this grappling desire to go off like yourself and be an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
to follow their passion, no matter how outre the passion is, versus
Mm-hmm.
the more stable option? Do you have any advice for them?
I would say to put yourself first professionally and personally, even above your children and spouse. That would be my advice. Because in order for you to show up as your best self, you have to make sure that you're good. Otherwise, you're only giving people, and you're operating at a deficit. So you're only giving people a small portion of what even truly you could do for them. Because if you were all together and if you were stable and if you were happy, then you would be able to show up differently.
And you're using your children as an inspiration, by
Hmm.
because if it wasn't for your
Hmm.
daughter, you likely would not have these incredible businesses.
The testimony is definitely there. The testimony is absolutely there, and I wish that she didn't have that journey. But that journey, it allows for me to be transparent and honest about what it was and how I was able to help her. And finally, from 2 years, I was able to help her get relief, and that meant the world to me.
Now, you say that your kids have a love-hate relationship with your entrepreneurship, but what do they love about mom and her businesses?
They love the growth. I'm sure that they love the growth and especially the personal growth. Working in publishing required a different version of me. Now I am a lot more calm. I am a lot more, you know, in a healing space. And back then I wasn't. I had to get things done. Had to be the pit bull in the skirt. had to, be not so friendly, had to not so be my loving cancer self. And so we went through a lot of ups and downs through entrepreneurship. I mean, a lot of ups and downs. We have experienced all different types of losses, gains, all of that. So they've lived through all of that. It was no crystal stair for certain.
And it's interesting because, I always say for every one success I have like 300 failures, like awful
Mm-hmm.
failures
Mm-hmm.
behind my belt. What
Mm-hmm.
is a setback that you can recall that really did end up being a setup for your current success?
Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful question. Um, I would say that something that I thought was a setback was when I was heavy, heavy, heavy into um, the adult intimacy uh, product world. I was moving and shaking, top sales rep, all of that. And then so much chaos began to happen. And if I would have just focused on me, possibly, instead of focusing so much on others, I would have continued and continued to soar in that market space. However, I didn't. I put the opinions of others first. I didn't show up always with my healing self. So I sabotaged a lot of things. And so that was something that I wish I actually could have done over, but it also set me up to I got introduced to the people who ended up introducing me to this practice. Isn't that something how life works out?
Wow.
And I was
Really
able to
cool.
grow it
And
into something, much larger than what I was, doing on both platforms as far as publishing and intimacy products.
and this is an interesting world that you're in, and a lot of
Hmm.
people don't really know a lot about it. What is your advice? Do you think that adult intimacy elements like this, or do you think it's a good place for a mompreneur or budding mompreneur to kind of look into today? Because the thing about being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
yesterday's price is not today's price. What was happening when you first got started might not be happening now. Is the world that
Hmm.
you're in, is it a world that you suggest people look into now if they're thinking about starting a business?
Anything health and wellness right now. Anything health and wellness right now. If you have a passion for it and you want to treat people well, you can't go wrong with health and wellness right now. Women need us more than ever. I had a client tell me, Black women heal Black women. And she told me that, and it stuck with me, and it's been on my heart ever since. And this is where Brown Girl Wellness came from. I said, what if we could put together the best of the best of Black and Brown practitioners under one roof to introduce Black and Brown women to healing modalities from around the world? What if we could do that? And that's how Brown Girl Wellness came about.
I love that. And I think when we're looking at it from the entrepreneurial perspective, because you have two businesses, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
V-TOX, which is your brick and mortar. That means all the
Yep.
bills are on you, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get the profits, but you also got the
Mm-hmm.
bills. But the
Mm-hmm.
collective, talk about people who are interested in maybe dabbling in this or trying this. How is that helpful? Because that means it's like a co-op situation, right? Like it's a split
Absolutely.
situation. Talk
Mm-hmm.
to us about the
Mm-hmm.
difference. And like when you're first starting out, the benefits of doing something like a collective
Mm-hmm.
versus a standalone.
Mm-hmm. So basically, a standalone, like you said, everything is on you. When you're a part of a collective operation, you basically get to just pay a membership fee into that collective, and pretty much you can operate your business and see your clients in that collective space.
So when you look at this, what do you say about the people that you've been able to bring into your collective? Because I'm going
Mm,
to assume some of them are people who are brilliantly talented, but they wouldn't be
hmm.
able to have their
So
own
wonderful.
V-TOX, so to speak.
So wonderful. From mental health professionals to Japanese head spa
Ooh,
technicians, also massage therapists. And we're adding on and adding on. We have so many. We have some yoga, some other body work things that are going to be starting up. I'm so excited about that because
and
I
what's great about
know.
that is I laugh with the Japanese head spot thing. If you ever look at the
Hmm.
comments on any time you see this video, do you do 4C
Hmm.
hair? Do you do
Hmm.
black people's hair? When it comes
Hmm.
from the Black Wellness
We
Collective, you
do.
know.
We
I mean, you don't even have to ask the question.
do. Hmm. Hmm. When we showcase our videos over on that Instagram page, so many people are like, wait a minute, they're DMing like, I can't believe I found you. And that makes my heart feel full. And the person who does that is actually a licensed cosmetologist who owns a salon, who comes here to be a part of the collective to just offer that service.
I love that. Now, please let
Mhm.
everyone know where they can find all of your businesses and products.
Absolutely. So you can find V-TOX Intimate Health and Wellness at vtoxyourbox.com. You can find Brown Girl Wellness at Brown Girl Wellness, BRWNGRL Wellness.com. You can also find Black Girl Spa Club at BLKGRL SpaClub.com.
Now, where can they go in person to experience your services?
Oh, they would find us right outside of Philadelphia at 29 Bala Avenue. And both offices are located right next door to each other. So you can walk out of one and go right into the other.
Oh, this is very
Super
exciting. So
convenient.
you've done an impressive trajectory. You started off traveling for someone else's businesses, then you
Hmm.
decided to start traveling for your own business. How
Hmm.
did you make the leap 6 years ago? Because it's a whole different thing. Have suitcase will travel to having
Hmm.
insurance, brick and
Hmm.
mortar,
Hmm.
drama. What
Hmm.
made you take the
Hmm.
leap and actually say, I'm going to have a brick and mortar business?
Because when I would do pop-up shops, I was doing all mobile appointments and people kept saying, well, where's your business? Well, where are you located? And one day I said, nobody will ever ask me this question again. I'm going to get a location. I would initially started in a salon suite. There were 29 other hairstylists. And when I did that, I didn't really have a clientele. I was like, I don't even know how I'm going to pay these bills, but I'm just going to do it. I went to see it on a Monday, signed a lease on a Friday. I went to every hairstylist in that building and I said, hey, this is what I do. Can you come in, treat yourself to a service? Let me know how you like it. I'll do it even complimentary if you just share it with your clientele. And that's what they did. And I built a clientele from there.
That's incredible. And I'm sure you also built some friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was in that location for 3 months,
That also
and then I
meant,
came to
though,
this.
that for 3 months, a lot of this was, were you profitable in that time? This was a big gamble and a risk on yourself.
It was a big gamble, and it wasn't profitable. It wasn't profitable. It was paying for the space, so at least I wasn't going into debt with the space. It didn't become profitable until I moved out of that space and found more affordable brick and mortar, actually for way more space. So I was paying a lot of money for 100 square foot room. I moved into a location with almost 700 square feet for less money.
And at this point, though, you had built up the clientele.
Well, I had built up a clientele, but I only had furniture for one room. So
All you
luckily,
need
I
is a
was
box
able.
to steam, sis.
Wayfair was so good to me, okay, because I was able to get a credit line with them and was able to get some furniture. So we were able to furnish out each room. So we have two steam rooms here, and also a waiting area and retail area.
Now, do you think that entrepreneurship and changing the way you view things and doing this, has it made you a better mother and grandmother?
I believe so. I believe so. And this has really allowed my own healing journey has allowed me to have very difficult conversations with my children, right? Because although they are proud of me and the things that I've accomplished, there's been so much that has so many traumatic events that have happened, even within our family. So that's why I say it's not a perfect situation, and my kids, even though my daughter has since started a business of her own, she has a way different outlook. My son wants nothing to do with entrepreneurship. My daughter at least tiptoes in, but she's still a government employee. So she's like, I like this a little bit, but I'm going where there's safety because it was a lot of sacrifice. And in that sacrifice and in those up and down moments, there were times when housing was shifted around. There was times when money was very low, so utilities was not always being a good utility. It was a lot of things that were going on. There was even food insecurity through some of these times, and sometimes I would send my children to be with family just so that I can just deal with any type of suffrage on my own through this entrepreneurial journey. And I don't know how many people talk about this. I'm not sure, but I know that 2 years ago I spoke on a panel at a conference, and I said, in the next 2 years, transparency is going to become marketing. People are going to begin to tell the truth about their entrepreneurial journey, because all of the other stuff is going to fall to the wayside. You're going to have to be honest about, it can't be smoke and mirrors. It can't be the aesthetically pleasing entrepreneurial journey. It's really actually kind of ghetto.
Well, it's just like the butterfly, right? You get to the
Hmm.
butterfly, but the process you go from caterpillar to a big old cocoon
Hmm.
of goop.
Hmm. And you will
Okay,
feel
so
beat down. You'll feel beat up. You will feel like you were in the ring in the 90s with Mike Tyson. Many days. There's way more of those days than there are, we're just happy people and this is so wonderful. Mm, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so I am thankful that I can have communication with my children now as adults to kind of say, okay, so let's talk about when this happened. Let's talk about when that happened. Because now I can talk to them without feeling like, oh, I got to hide this from them. I got to solve this emergency before they get in from school. Not many entrepreneurs talk about how in the morning your electricity may be off.
it's one
Mm-hmm.
thing to be, like you said, suffering by yourself, eating ramen in a dark room, but then when you have children,
Mm-hmm.
it's complicated. What kept you
Mm-hmm.
on this path? Why were you so passionate about being an entrepreneur? And as a follow up to that, was it worth it?
It absolutely was worth it. And to me, I feel that it taught me that I was able to operate in my full creativity, that I was strong enough to be able to create something and see it through fruition. I was always an excellent employee. I always had all the accolades, everything was awesome. But this is so different. It's so different.
Because you might not have had electricity on, but you had a fire in your heart. You felt alive.
Hmm.
You were working for yourself, which is
And I
which
don't
is
want
not for
anyone to
nothing.
experience suffrage. I don't want anyone to go through suffrage, but there might be a little suffrage sometimes. There's no perfect plan. There's no perfect plan.
And hey, look, I laugh because I've interviewed so many different people. I interviewed a person who's gotten thousands of people into college for free. I've interviewed, and their child doesn't even want to go to college. I have interviewed, judo black belts. Their children don't like karate. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's
Mm-hmm.
hilarious that your path, both your children are successful and in jobs. That's not for nothing too. You
Mm-hmm.
you did a good job in a
Mm-hmm.
hilariously roundabout way.
Mm-hmm. They honestly just don't. My son more so because he's the oldest. He's just kind of like, mm-mm, not for me. My daughter, she is so creative and so gifted with her hands. So she has the bug, you know?
Oh.
And so she's always loved bath and body products. She started a body care line a few years ago. And really, it was to help her get out of debt that she created for herself. She decided that this is what she was going to do, something she loved. And guess what? It took off. It's super popular in my office. She also has her own website and everything. So,
How are we not talking about this? So you being a mompreneur, all the struggle
hmm
is worth it. She learned from you. When the going gets tough, you start a business.
well, I didn't know that. I thought my son and I was going to have to get her out of the debt that she, found herself in. We were
You
willing to
taught
do that
her
as a family.
impressive lessons. Well, you did help her
Hmm.
get out of the debt with your
Hmm.
role modeling as a
Hmm.
mompreneur.
Hmm.
So congratulations.
And I definitely opened up these shelves in this office and told the people, "Come support my baby."
I love it. What's the name of her business so people can support?
T Chanel Beauty.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
fantastic. See, this is what
Yep.
I'm talking about. I laugh. I don't even think you see the correlation because you were like, oh, she's not really that into entrepreneurship. But the whole point of this conversation is not everyone's going to quit their job and
Hmm.
pursue. But if
Hmm.
you can have a hustle that gets you out of
Hmm.
debt, you have a future, right? So you have taught
Hmm.
her how entrepreneurship is a path. And congratulations. I'm very proud of her and I'm very
Thank
proud of
you.
you.
Thank you.
That's the beauty of it. And everything has a reason that it happens. And
Hmm.
you being here is very
Hmm.
inspirational because it's not a perfect path all the time. Sometimes you're the
Oh no.
squishy part of the
Hmm.
cocoon and you have not
Hmm.
yet become the butterfly.
Hmm.
And to
Hmm.
that point, I know in your business, you're obviously still growing. You have so many amazing initiatives. You have so many
Hmm.
different windows and wheelhouses. And
Hmm.
our time is almost up, but I can't let you leave without participating in my favorite segment. And it's
Let's go.
called Mompreneurs Manifestation. And I ask all of our guests what you're trying to make happen and how we can help manifest it in the universe for you.
Well, my full goal, honestly, is to have a full service spa and wellness center where I can put everything and operate it under one roof. That is honestly my goal. And also, my constant prayer has been to build out a phenomenal team because I no longer have the desire to be the solopreneur. I want to make sure that I am pouring into people and allowing people to pour into me because Lord knows that I need it.
I love it. Well, I feel like you're on a good trajectory. You got through the
Thank you.
pandemic. This has
Oh,
never
that
been a
was a
better
hard
time.
that
And
was
there's
hard.
and oh my God. And you're seeing when you said vaginal steaming 10 years ago, what was the
Hmm.
initial response?
No.
When you say
Everyone
vaginal
said
steaming
no.
now, when you say
People are
vaginal
like,
steaming
"Oh, I
now,
saw that on reality TV, or I heard about that. My girlfriend gets that done."
amazing. And so, you are part of a zeitgeist and we commend you. And I'm so grateful that you could join us on Mompreneurs.
I appreciate you so much, Nancy. Thank you for finding me. Thank you for allowing me to share your platform. This is absolutely amazing, and I appreciate you.
Well, we want to celebrate people who are unsung heroes, and what you're doing is really important. How does it make you feel?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times you're just doing your business, you're doing the best you can, and it's kind of lonely. Like you said, you're a solopreneur. You don't know
Absolutely.
if anybody's even watching.
Hmm. It's very lonely. It's very lonely. And also you deal with the struggle of when you build something that is successful. If you've ever been through traumatic times, you never want to experience that trauma again. So there is a mental health component to that, almost like a survivor's remorse. You start to work even more, and can also become a slave to your business, to be honest, because you never want to go back to what you may have experienced before.
But when you do things incrementally, anything is possible. Like you've done step by
Hmm.
step, you went from going around one business location, another business location, then the one next to
Hmm.
it, and then you're still traveling.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
congratulations. Remind everyone of the websites where they can find you.
You can find me at www.vtoxyourbox.com.
All right, great. VTalksYourBox.com. Thank you all for listening and watching to Mompreneurs. As a reminder, a brand new episode goes live each Monday on Urban One Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit urban1podcast.com to learn more. That's urban, the number one, podcast.com. Mompreneurs is brought to you by the Urban One Podcast Network and MadameNoire. Created, produced, and hosted by me, Nancy Red. Executive produced by Allison McGovna and Tanya Hoffler-Moore. Produced and edited by Jiminique Miller.